Hey y'all, it's Jen and welcome back to my channel, Ifra's Inklings. Today's video is all about my February audiobooks that I listened to, and stick around to see what books I listened to on audio and what I thought of them along with the narrations. Hey guys, as I said in my intro, this is my February 2019 audiobook wrap-up. This is just the beginning of it. It is still early on in the month, but I've already listened to 4 audiobooks and I wanted to talk about these before I forgot any specific details. So the first book that I finished on audio in the month of February was King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. This book is 16 hours and 13 minutes on audio, and it is the first book in the Nikolai Landsloff duology. It is narrated by Lauren Fortgang. As far as the book itself goes, I was a little disappointed in a lot of parts of this book. I love Nikolai. He is my favorite character in this series. I know there's lots of people, not just this series, but in this whole universe. I know a lot of people are all about the Darkling or Kaz or whoever. I am Nikolai trash, okay? So for this book, I had such high expectations and it just fell flat. And this is a common theme amongst a lot of different reviews that I have seen on this book. It is, it's a great book, but it wasn't what we wanted as Nikolai fans. And there was a lot of Zoya and a lot of Nina in this book that I could have done without. Now, I really enjoyed Zoya in this book a lot more than I have in any of the other books of the world, but I wanted a book about Nikolai. Yeah, so there's that. Now, the audio book portion of this, the narration of this was fantastic. Lauren Fortgang did a great job. I was able to distinguish the characters really well, and I really enjoyed her narrating voice. I did have to drop this down to 1.5 speed for the majority of the book, and I don't know why. It was really, because this is fantasy, I was having a hard time getting into the book. There was also a lot going on in my personal life at the beginning of the month that was impacting my listening and my concentration, so that may have been a little bit of a factor on that as well. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, and if you've read the other 2 series in this universe and want to continue on with it, I would say the audiobook would be a great way to do that as well. So the next book that I listened to for this month was The Real Lolita, The Kidnapping of Sally Horner and the Novel That Scandalized the World by Sarah Weinman. This was narrated by Cassandra Campbell and it is 7 hours and 26 minutes. This one I did check out from my library, and it was a horrific story, but it was done so well. It was really enjoyable. If you're really into true crime and this type of story, then I think you would enjoy listening to the story of The Real Lolita. If you have read the book Lolita by Novikov, there are parts about that storyline and his writing of the book that is also heavily featured in this audiobook and the story of The Real Lolita. Now, subject matter is, again, horrific, and there were times that I was just like, oh, I can't deal with this. But the audiobook and the narration itself was done really well, and it was easy to follow along with. And this one, I did also manage to listen to it at 2 times speed. The next audiobook I listened to this month was Sawkill Girls by Claire LeGrand. It is 12 hours and 58 minutes on audio. I did check this one out from my library, and it is narrated by Lauren Izzo. This book, y'all, I don't even know where to start. The characters were great. The storytelling was great. The writing was good. The ending of it fell flat for me. That is my only complaint about this book. The relationship between the girls was great. That's the key word for this review, apparently. we have a bi character, we have an ace character, we have a gay character, we have a guy. The one young man in this story that was best friends and in love with one of the girls, his character was phenomenal. There was so much good in these relationships with these characters that I loved it. Plus, it was dark and it was creepy and it was spooky. And, so it's basically these girls on Sawkill Island keep disappearing and you don't find any evidence of it. There is this creature called the Collector, and basically he feeds on these girls to make himself more solid, and he comes from another dimension. He's like a demon, I guess. And you hear these stories from all over the world. They're similar but different. And so on Sawkill Island, it's the Collector, and he has this one family that he is they are kind of his host. There were parts of it that I was just like, ooh, 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 no, I can't handle this. And then there were other times that I could not stop listening to this book. And even when I was like in those ooh stages, it was very much one of those that I just had to continue on to see how this played out. So like I said, I did give this book 4 out of 5 stars. And I think that the listening to the audiobook was a really great experience because the narrator, when there was something spooky happening, you could hear the fear in her voice. She reacted as if, it wasn't just a reading of the story. She was reacting to the story as well. And that's the best way I can explain it. But like I said, it was really creepy and it was really dark and it was really disturbing. And basically it kind of goes in that mindset of every fairy tale or every myth, lore, legend, whatever is based in fact. So yeah, really good. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars because again, the last chapter of it, I just was like, why? What was the point? It could have ended a chapter earlier and just kind of left it open to the reader's interpretation. I would have enjoyed it a lot more. It would have been a 5-star book then. Now, the final book that I listened to so far this month is Fell Until You Don't, Fight, Grind, Repeat by Bobby Bones. This is actually narrated by Bobby Bones as well, and it is 5 hours and 20 minutes long. I listened to this audiobook completely today. It was a one-day audiobook kind of thing. I did listen to it on 1.75 speed. I attempted to listen to it on 2 speed, but it distorted his voice too much. Now, I listen to Bobby Bones' radio show every morning on my way to work, so I know what his voice is supposed to sound like. I've also actually gotten the opportunity to meet him, and he's from a small town not too far from where I live as well. So that impacted me listening to this. I needed to bump it down to where it sounded somewhat normal speed for his voice. So, but again, I listened to this all today. I just finished it a few minutes ago. I gave it 5 stars. It is a really good book about being motivated and how to keep going and accepting the fact that you're going to fail probably more often than you win or succeed. That failure is a part of success. I really enjoyed it. It's probably one of the best motivational books that I've ever read / listened to in ever. It will be one that really stands out and impacts me and that I think about for a long time to come. And it really helped solidify my goals and what I'm trying to achieve right now. And it also reminded me that I maybe need to do a few things a little differently so that I can accomplish my goals, because you have to want it to get it. And in that, you have to understand that you're going to fail a lot. And you still have to get up and do it again. It's a grind that you continuously have to repeat. You get up, you try, you grind, you repeat. So that is kind of the formula for success. And not giving up. You just don't give up if it's important to you. So that's what I've listened to so far this month. Okay, so this is part 2 of my audiobook wrap-up for the month of February. And I only actually read one other non-audiobook, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about it now. And this will just be my entire February wrap-up. I read a graphic novel this month, She and Her Cat, by Makoto Shinkai. And it's a graphic novel about a young lady who it's about being lonely, and about how being single and alone really affects your life. And it is told from her cat's point of view, and it's kind of heart-tugging. It took me about 45 minutes to read it. It's really short. I gave it 5 stars. I could really relate to a lot of things that it said because it's things that I felt being a single person for the last 10 years. I could definitely relate to the loneliness and the isolation and the not wanting to reach out to people, including your own family and your best friends. I'm very guilty of that. I just don't talk to anybody. If a lot of times if people don't talk to me or reach out to me, I don't reach out to them because I don't want to feel like I'm bothering them, because most everybody that I know and I'm friends with, they have families of their own, and they're busy too, and so I don't want to be a burden. And that was kind of a theme in that book as well, and I really enjoyed it. So I think the last audiobook I talked about was Fail Until You Don't, Fight, Grind, Repeat by Bobby Bones. So I hope I talked about it. Darius the Great Is Not Okay by Adib Khorram. I think I said that right. I gave this 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It's a YA contemporary book. It has some amazing mental health rep in it, specifically depression. There's some grief that's dealt with that I thought did a really good job showing what grief does to a person and how they can lash out at people, including their friends, when they're hurting. It is got some great ethnicity rep in it. The main character and most of the main character's family and the people we interact with there are Persian, so they are from the Middle East, and there was some good representation. I'm assuming it's good representation of the Persian culture. So this audiobook is narrated by Michael Levi Harris, and it is 7 hours and 33 minutes long. I listened to it at 2 times speed. I'm pretty sure I listened to it at 2 times speed. But I enjoyed it so much. It did take me a little while to get into it, but that had nothing to do with the audiobook. I think it took like a week for me to finish this book, even though it's only 7 hours. But that has nothing to do with the audiobook or the narrator or the content of it. That had to do with some just personal stuff going on in my life and with work, and it was just a really busy time for me. Because like I said, I gave it 4.5 stars. I really, really enjoyed this book. And I think it did some really important discussions. It is own voices. The author suffers from depression, and he's also of Persian descent. So lots of good stuff going on there. And I really, really enjoyed the story, the friendship, the connection, the family, just all of those dynamics just was done so well. Highly recommend this book. So the next book that I listened to on audio was Other Earth by Jason Segel and Kirsten Miller. This book is also narrated by Jason Segel, and it is 8 hours and 49 minutes long. I did listen to it at 2 times speed, and it is the second book in the Otherworld series. Otherworld obviously is the first book in the series. I'm not going to talk too much about the plot of it. I did give this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the next book in the series. So Goodreads says it is the Last Reality series. It's book number 2 in the Last Reality series. Audible has it as the Otherworld series. So I don't know what the series is actually called, but it is a virtual reality based sci-fi environment type book. And like I said, it's the second one in the series, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but I really, really, really enjoyed it. And the cliffhanger at the end was oh my God. I need the next book now so I can figure out how this ends. I think it's a trilogy, but it's really great. I love listening to Jason Segel or Segal. That's Segal. Anyway, his narration is great, on point, and it's just phenomenal. So definitely check it out if you're into that kind of gaming, virtual reality. It's kind of like virtual reality meets World of Warcraft. And it talks about it really points out some dangers of going into that altered state of mindset, and how people can really take it too far. And there's a lot of, in this book especially, there's a lot of consumerism and how far the company will go to continue to be profitable and to exploit people for profit. And then the final book that I listened to was To Be Honest by Maggie Ann Martin. I gave this book 5 stars. This one is narrated by Eileen Stevens, and it is 6 hours and 40 minutes. I listened to this one on 2 times speed. The voice of the narrator was not my favorite. I was able to deal with it, and it didn't necessarily take away from the story, but there's narrators that I've liked a lot better. So this book has some amazing fat rep in it and body positive rep. And it deals with a girl whose mom goes on one of those shows to lose weight and comes back, and the effects that it has on the mom and the daughter. And because this daughter is Savannah Savvy, she is a little bit overweight, and her mom is trying to shame her into dieting with her, and the mom is just very overly obsessed with it after being on that diet show or weight loss show. And it talks about how it affects the mom and the people around the mom and the daughters, and it's really good. It's probably one of the best body positive fat rep books that I've listened to. It's got a great message, and it's got a great little cute little love interest story in there. It's got some great family dynamics. The family dynamics in this story felt real. The relationship between the mom and the daughter, the relationship between the girl and her sister, the relationship between the daughter and her father, because the father is not really in the picture. The parents got divorced, and he's getting remarried, or is remarried or whatever. There's a stepmom involved, and so, but all of the family dynamics really felt real. And like I said, there was a really cute little love interest not mixed signal, but there's some communication issues in there that kind of got annoying. But I thought that was even handled really well. So I did end up DNFing 2 books this month that were I just couldn't with them. And I'm really disappointed, because every book that I've read this month has either been a 4, 4.5, or 5-star read. I've had a phenomenal reading month, with the exception of the 2 that I DNF'd. The first one I DNF'd, it was an audio book as well. This is kind of an epic love story by Karen Collender. This started out really great. I was really enjoying it. The first 30% of this book was great. I ended up DNFing it at 43%, because the main character was really, really toxic. He's bisexual, and his 2 best friends, he fell in love with both of them, but he is awful to them. And I know that it probably worked out, and it ended up probably pretty great, but I could not get past how horrible he was, because he didn't want to get hurt. People who are awful to other people to keep themselves safe from not getting hurt and lashing out and being just an epic douchebag, is something I don't deal with. I'm not going to be an ass to you just because I might like you and you might hurt me. That's just, I just don't play that. And I think it's poor representation to have 50% of a book, almost 50% of a book, have that kind of character and nobody's calling him out on his shit. And I just couldn't, so I DNF'd it. The other book that I DNF'd was Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. I was not enjoying this book at all from the beginning. It was also an audiobook. The narrator kind of got on my nerves, so that wasn't helping anything. But I DNF'd it at 35%, and I really wanted to like this book. This is a book that I had been anticipating for a while. It's been on my TBR list for a long time. And the premises behind it is a best friend. It's kind of like a conversation with friends. It's friends being best friends. And but the main character that you're following, the narrator of the story, is a young girl who is bisexual. Her best friend is her first lover. Her best friend is awful. Does some very unsavory, toxic things. Uncool. You can just kind of see that what she's kind of jealous and using our main character here at the same time. The main character gets involved with a married man, thinks nothing of it, doesn't really, she knows it's wrong, she just doesn't care. And the man knows it's wrong, but he doesn't care. And they're friends with, they're kind of all friends with each other, and the wife and the husband and the two girls. And the whole entire story up to this 35% was about this affair, and how she was pissed because she wasn't getting enough time with this man who's married to someone else. And I just can't with that trope. I can't. I have an issue with affair tropes, and this entire book was up to 35%. That was the entire plot, was this girl having an affair with this older married man. And I'm saying older as in older than her. She was 21, he was 35. And I just couldn't. I can deal with an affair in the storyline if it's a small part of the storyline or it's necessary for the story. But at 35%, it was just this girl who was getting off on having an affair with a married man, and I just couldn't. I DNF'd it. So that's it. That ends my wrap up here. If you have read any of these that I have, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of them, if you've read them. If you haven't read them, let me know if you're going to, based off of this wrap up of these books. And you guys know what to do here. If you've enjoyed this video, please give me a like, subscribe, share, and leave me a comment. Even if it's just an emoji of some sort, or just to say hi. I would love to be able to say hi back to you. Be sure and tune back in at the beginning of April so you can see my wrap up for my audiobooks that I listen to here in March. And until then, I'll talk to you later. Bye.